Hey there, Fro Nation. I am in a church, but we're going to explain why shortly. I have on a really great photographer named Dominic Episcopo. He is going to be on this week's RAWtalk, and we're going to figure out how we are so intertwined in space and time continuum that we just our paths keep crossing, and one day they may continue to cross, maybe in 15 years. There's a bunch of different secret words that are coming up, so definitely take a listen for those so you can tweet them out. They're pretty raunchy this week, but they definitely are pretty cool. So I want to thank allenscamera.com for all of their support. BBO Poker Table, now that I've put the poker table back up in my loft, we're ready to do some podcasts around there, though I really do enjoy going on location to do them. AdoramaPics.com. Check them out for those metal prints. I'll be giving some of those away soon. And Drobo. They have been really kind for giveaways and all that good jazz. But it's really time that we get in here to meet Dominic Episcopo. Did anybody like that? Did you like to meet the Dominic Episcopo? That was really good, right? It's kind of funny going to a church on a Friday. Is today Friday, Ari?
Yes.
I don't ever go to church. The only time I've ever been in church is I went to one wedding, and then I shot some weddings. But anyway, I'm sitting here with Dominic Episcopo. We are in his studio, which so happens to be a church. Is that correct?
Yes.
Just a church?
Just a church.
We're in Philly, and the story, the reason I'm sitting here with Dominic is because we have an intertwining web of connections that we didn't even know, and they just came out of nowhere. And do you want to talk about the first intertwining connection, which is my old loft?
Your old loft was my studio for 15 years. I went in there in like 91, and I moved out in like 2004, I think.
So are you responsible for building the stage?
The stage was there, but I'm responsible for pretty much building everything else in there. I mean, it was an empty room with just a stage at one end.
Now, the paintings on the ceiling, do you know anything about those paintings that were there?
I've been up there, so they are canvases that are mounted on the ceiling.
They're glued there, right?
I don't know if they're glued. I think they're just almost like stretched like a canvas.
Right, because you can see like the slats under them now. Because I stared at the naked lady every night when I slept, because my room and the bed was there. And actually, no, I stared at the ones that were clothed, the cherubs. The ones that are naked were in the other room. But we always tried to figure out what they were, where they came from.
Well, I don't know for sure. I think that they're paintings on canvas that are really badly smoke damaged and stuff, because that was an old like Ukrainian lodge, and they must have smoked like their heads off in there. So they're really yellowed, but they're beautiful, and they look like Maxwell Parrish to me. I doubt that they're actually Maxwell Parrish, but they're probably one of his apprentices or somebody, especially that he was from this area.
Really?
I'm sure they're worth more than the building.
You think they are?
Oh, yeah.
So he has no idea what he has there, does he?
I was trying to devise a big plan of how to get them out of there and replace them with like a facsimile.
You'd never know.
He would never know.
Yeah, I mean, because the only thing that he told me one of the things was, you can't paint over these. It's like, okay, why would I paint over these? Hold on, let me get out some hot pink paint and roll the ceiling over the cherubs up there.
Because he would paint over them.
You know what it is now, right?
It's a preschool?
It's a daycare.
A day school.
And I was always wondering, what the hell are they going to do with the cherubs on the ceiling? You really think they're worth more than the building?
I think they're worth more.
Because that building is at least $1 million to $1.5 million at this point in this area.
I think that those paintings that are probably 100 years old, the size that they are, and they're actually in good condition, because they're so far nobody could touch them except for the smoke, which is cleanable.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they are. I think they're worth probably $1 million, $1.5 million easily.
Wow.
Easily.
See, I don't know why he doesn't,
because he has no idea, and he can't be bothered.
He can't be...
Well, I think if he thought they were really worth that kind of money, but it's always a chance, because you're taking them down to put them up at auction, so there's no guarantee, but I would have had Christie's in there in a second.
Taking a look. I mean, I look around, we are in a church, so you went from that loft, which was your studio. By the way, what were you paying?
Well, when I moved in 91, I think I was paying I want to say I was paying like $600 for the whole second floor,
which was about 3,000 square feet.
Yeah, but I rented out the smaller side for like $400.
Really?
Yeah, a month.
So you're large size.
Yeah, and I had the large size, and then he slowly raised the rent on me over the.
And that area was nothing. I know he paid like $170,000 for that building,
and he overpaid when he bought it. Actually,
really? But there were a lot of murders going on down there at that time.
There was nothing down there.
Nothing at all.
Well, Second Street and a lot of other properties in that neighborhood were all owned by this one old crazy guy, Harry. And Harry was there when I moved in. He was still around. And all those buildings, like next to the 700 Club along Second Street, and then even across the street, not Architectural Exchange, but where the Palm Market is, this one old man owned all of them.
Wow.
I mean, half of them didn't even have doors and windows, and he lived in them. And it was an old hardware store. He was like the biggest distributor of nails in the whole area, not just the city. And the stories that I've heard from people is that he used to wear like a nail apron, and he would have money in it, and he would make change, like just like crazy cash everywhere, and he would have barrels of nails and barrels of cash that he would make change with.
That's crazy. So what were you shooting? Like, because let's get into a little bit of your background. Where did you come from as a photographer? Where did you get your start?
I was just always into photography, and I went to University of the Arts. And from there, I found myself in Philly. I'm from the New York area originally, but after 4 years of college, I started working with a photographer down here as an assistant, and I just stayed in Philly. It just seemed, it was where all my connections were, even though I grew up right outside of New York.
So what did you like to shoot? What's your forte then?
Back then, I was interested in shooting bands, and I did shoot a lot of rock groups and bands for
We're looking at the 80s here?
Oh, hey, easy there. I graduated college in '89.
Okay, the 80s.
Yeah, but it was the 90s, because by the time I got out of college, and then I assisted for about 2 years or so, and then I started my own gig. I think I actually moved into that space in Northern Liberties in '91.
So who were you shooting back then? Who were you?
Like, who were the bands I was shooting? I shot every. Well, you saw the Beastie Boys. You saw Sonic Youth. Jill Scott, Bon Jovi. I even shot Elton John for Visa once. Who else? A lot. I was like the indie band king. I'm blanking right now, but
so were there a lot of people around doing what you were doing?
No, I mean there was nationally, but in Philly, I mean I was the guy.
Scott Wiener. You know Scott Wiener?
I know that name.
He's more of a he did a lot of the music stuff then as well.
And I was never a guy to shoot bands live. I mean, all these bands were set up kind of things. Yeah. Matthew Sweet, but then they were bringing me to New York. They handled it two ways. They either, once I was, I had the regular magazines that I was shooting for, they would either, the New York magazines, oddly enough, would wait till the band played Philadelphia, and I would shoot them during sound check or in the afternoon.
Sure.
But the Philadelphia magazines would always make arrangements in New York, and we would go up to Manhattan and shoot them. It's just the wackiness of this business.
I love what you said, though, that you didn't shoot them live. And that's the exact, well, I'm sure you shot some live, but the main great photos come when you get all access, when you get backstage, when you get to go into the studio, when you get to go out to lunch, when you get to go to the laundromat, when you're doing all the stuff that nobody else gets to see. And that's where I started when I was doing Rolling Stone stuff. My first assignment was I was shooting film, 2003. I got a call to go do Nora Jones. I didn't get my chance yet. I got to photograph Nora Jones, and then after the show, I had the tour manager's number, so I called him. I'm like, hey, is it all right if I come down and get some candid shots behind the scenes? He's like, you can come down, but she doesn't like photos. So he literally walked me over to her and introduced me and said, here's Nora, this is Jared for Rolling Stone, and he would like to take some photos. She's like, I don't really like getting my picture taken. I said, how about this? How about I only take a couple of images, you don't even know I'm there, and when I'm done, I'll leave. I took 6 pictures and I said, thank you very much, and I'm done. She's like, that's it? That was great. I'm like, I said I would only take a couple, and I'd get out. And it was really cool, because she was just sitting backstage jamming with Jillian Welch, who was on tour with her, and it was just cool. That was my first assignment for Rolling Stone. And did you ever shoot for Rolling Stone?
Yeah, I shot Modest Mouse for Rolling Stone. I shot Marilyn Manson. I've shot Veruca Salt.
Yeah.
Now I'm remembering a lot of bands. I shot Pavement. I've shot Fu Manchu.
See, Ari's the resident music guy over here.
Mike Watt.
Yeah.
What's his name? The other guy that was in Dinosaur Jr.
We're looking at Art.
Jay Massett.
All right, don't forget to talk into the microphone. Come on.
My mic's not really fully on because I don't want to throw off the...
Oh, all right.
He's a heavy breather over there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have to contend with where'd the dog go? She went over somewhere behind Ari.
Me. Yeah.
Well, so that's cool. So you did the music, the indie music thing, which is great. That's how did the magazines find you? How did you start getting those jobs?
I found them, and it was such a different world. And most of the magazines I worked for either are not around or they've moved on. There was something called Philly Rock Guide that no longer exists, but they accessed really big bands. I mean, that's who I shot the Beastie Boys with. I mean, I had a whole afternoon in Manhattan with the Beastie Boys.
Wow.
And Matthew Sweet, I shot for them. But there was Magnet, which is a local magazine, but they tend to use more New York photographers now, and Rolling Stone. And actually, somebody who was in Trevor and I's class in college is one of the photo editors at Rolling Stone.
Still?
Deb Dragon. Yeah, she's still
Deborah
there.
Dragon. Yeah, Deb's still there.
Yeah.
I email her every once in a while because what the person that got me in there the first time, I think I've probably told the story before, but I called once and the lady's like, "We'll call you if we need you," and I'm like, "Well, I didn't give you any of my information." So she blew me off really hard. There we go. Blew me off really hard. There's a secret word. But no, Ari's shaking his head at me. So don't use that, but you can use it.
Whatever.
I said it. Hashtag blew me off really hard.
I'm sorry about
it's
that.
all good. So then once she left, what happened is 6 months later, I just called on a whim. And there was like a new lady there. And I told her the whole story about what the lady did before me. She's like, just send me some stuff. And if I need you, I'll give you a call. And so I just stayed. And I think my work was good. I don't think she would have, taken it if it wasn't. And that's when the Nora Jones stuff happened. That's when I went and shot the Roots in the studio, which was a very aromatic day of...
Aromatic day.
Aromatic? I made up another word again? Yeah.
Aromatic.
Aromic?
Yeah, it's like aerobic, but with
aromatic
herbal smell.
Anyway, it was very herbally smelly there, and that was fun. I mean, I was shooting film, and but anyway, that's how I got in. I just called and told the lady what happened, and she started calling.
Was it Jodie Peckman?
No, it was Jennifer Santana.
I don't know her.
Yeah, so it may have been after, but that's how I got in there.
I shot the Roots for them as well, for Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
Well, Amir I shot for Rolling Stone.
Yeah, that's one of yeah, he's cool. I shot a shot of him in his record room.
Me too. I did that for Remix magazine though. I shot it.
You probably did it right at the same time I was in 2003 or 2004.
Yeah,
because it was just when they built that studio. And that I shot with Fuji 800, Fuji Press 800. I love that stuff. So that's what I shot. So we didn't even gear doesn't matter, but where'd you start with gear? What was your first camera?
I will say, well, my first camera like in college was, I started with 35. I think it was an F3 was like the big camera then.
You want to know about an F3?
Yeah.
Well, you know what's funny? So I'm having my new place painted, and the guy brings in his cameras today. That he's like, can you take a look? He's got an F3. He's got it in all the case. He doesn't have the winder, but I'm thinking of buying it from him if I can. But yeah, so when we talk about intertwining stories here, I rented that last place, which turned out to be where Dominic used to rent as a studio. And then when my lease was up, I looked for a place to purchase, and is this where we intertwine again?
Yeah, again.
Where do we intertwine?
Well, I helped Jordan find that place.
Yeah, so Dominic helped the guy that I ended up buying the place from find that place.
Because he's one of my best friends.
Which is pretty amazing.
And then the realtor was one of my best friends as well.
And there we go again. Then the realtor, his wife is your studio manager.
Yes.
And it just is and then Ben Loyner, who was on Breaking Ben episode 4, we think, you're good friends with him as well.
Yes, our kids go to school together, and then Ben bought Trevor Dixon's house, and Trevor Dixon was my best friend in college. He's still a really good friend of mine, and he's in the building that you are now in.
Yes, Trevor's studio is in the building in the bottom, which I'll probably knock on his door. You'll give him a call and say you should do a RAWtalk, and I'll just come down to his place and do it. So it's just amazing how that all happened. How I went from the loft where I first rented was your place, a photographer, to then go to the next place that I purchased. And so that means that one day I will get an opportunity to purchase the church that we're sitting in.
There'll be the opportunity for sure.
So can I ask, am I allowed to ask what you paid for it 10 years ago?
$400 for it.
$400,000. And when this place was, that's more than when I paid for my loft, but no, it's less than what I paid. I'm sorry, I paid more. Yeah, right?
I was going to say, that's less. I know what you paid for
It's
your
less.
loft.
Yeah, you know what I paid. I misspoke there. But that's insane. This is 15,000 square feet.
Yep.
We got a tour of this place, and it's fantastic. I wish the pipe organ, you didn't want to keep the pipe organ working? Or it didn't work?
It didn't work. It would have needed a ton of work.
You could have called Bob.
But I'm not the Phantom of the Opera. I used to tell people.
Yeah, but the thing is, our old landlord combined sells pipe organs. And
Oddly enough,
still sells pipe organs. That would have been crazy. But this place is amazing. There's a downstairs studio. We're in the main shooting area, and it's just the stained glass and the courtyard, and just for what you paid, and now you're fixing it up continually is just insane. It's insane. So
yes, it is insane.
Well, how did you end up buying a church?
Take it on. Well, I was leaving that place, and I needed to find a place to live. I was getting out of my place. I was actually going through a divorce, so I had to sell my condo in South Philly, and my lease was up, and the landlord over at Second and Fairmount was pushing me out basically. I mean, he put me on a month to month. He doubled my rent. He took half of the space away from me. So I mean, he basically told me to leave without saying those words. So, but I was already looking, and so I just needed somewhere I could work and live. And I was looking at a lot of auto body shops, like those cinder block places, like the place that's across the street from the old studio.
Yep.
And they were $500,000, and they were really basically the size of this room.
Right.
And that's really what I was looking at. And then I came upon this place. It just had a for sale sign hanging out, like a Fox Roach Prudential for sale sign out there. And I called, and
that was it.
Yeah.
I mean, was the building in good condition?
It was in good condition. Like, there was no structural problems, but every single part of it. I mean, I had to put all new electric. Everything that was done in here was done on a church budget, so it was kind of slapped together. Sometimes they did more harm than good,
right,
with the way they fixed things. It hadn't been touched. I mean, it sat almost empty for almost 10 years. I mean, it really. I mean, every inch of it had to be touched, but at the same time, it had all its windows.
Every inch of it had to be touched.
Yeah.
There we go. The windows are great. I'm just sitting here laughing because I am envisioning in 15 years giving you a call. You're going to give me a call first, and we're going to negotiate something, because I've always wanted to own a church as a Jewish guy. Who doesn't want to own a church and sleep below the cross? I always thought I wanted the first thing I wanted to look at before I found that loft. Actually, that's the only place I looked at, by the way.
Really?
There was the first. My realtor sent me like 80 different places online. I saw that, and it had a freight elevator and had a spiral staircase. I've always wanted to have the loft from Big. It was either the loft from Big or a church. Churches I couldn't get a mortgage for. There's one in the city right now, but it was like in a water damaged area, and it's not far from here, and they wanted like $800,000 or something, or maybe it was $500,000. It's not even that bad, but we'll get into like heating the place, because I know this is the oldest green building now, because you have solar panels on the roof.
Yes.
Which is fantastic. And I don't remember where I was going. Ari, can you remind me where I was going? Ari can't remind me where I was going.
You were looking at a church.
Oh, yeah. So I looked at that place, and that was it. I wanted that. That's why we bought it. 2 days after I got kicked out of my other place, we saw that, and that's the only one I looked at, and we worked it out and made it happen. But the church is something I always thought would be a cool place to have. So how has it been shooting out of here?
Well, it's the best studio in town, no doubt, right? I mean, you've probably been to a lot. This is
you've got Power Plant.
But Power Plant's got that. I mean, I love Jim, but it's got that big chimney stack that goes right down the middle of it and stuff. I mean, this is the ultimate studio. I mean, it's awesome to live in and work in. It's a lot of big old building to maintain, though. You know, I mean, that just comes with any old building. The building's 150 years old. And it requires a lot of love and maintenance on a regular basis.
Well, I'm thinking in 15 years it's going to be ready to go, and I'll get a phone call and it'll be like, oh, hey, we've got. I mean, the courtyard.
One more bucket list thing. Yeah. You got one bucket list item down. You got the big.
There we go. We got the big loft, and then we'll get the church with the courtyard. I mean, when you moved into this area, this was not the best area, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I never thought it was unsafe, but it wasn't. what it is now.
No, it's starting to really
changed
build up.
incredibly. I mean, at first, when I was here after about 6 months, I was like, oh my God, what did I do? I mean, and I felt like I was on an island because I'm on the other end of Fishtown too.
Yeah.
I'm not close to Northern Liberties. I'm like, not that Fishtown's that big.
No, you're like 6 blocks away.
Yeah, I mean, it's all still walkable, but when I moved here, Johnny Brenda's had opened like 6 months before I got here. And
Really?
then,
They're 10 years old?
yeah, and that was it. There was nothing else here. But now there are restaurants surrounding us, even on the other side of me, going even further north.
Pizza Brain.
Oh, there's Pizza Brain. There's Loco Pez on the corner.
I love Loco Pez.
Memphis Tap Room. There's Craftwork, Interstate. I mean, it's just insane, all the restaurants that are coming.
It's pretty awesome. So what shoots are you doing these days?
I've been doing a lot. I do a lot of lifestyle. I mean, I could tell you the types of shoots I do, but really at the end of the day, it always waters down to what I'm shooting is lifestyle. So I shoot a ton of casino work all over the country. People, happy people playing games, eating in restaurants.
Come lose your money here.
Suite. Yeah. And then like last week I did a pretty big pharmaceutical job, but again, it's lifestyle. It's a woman looking into a medicine cabinet. It was a woman in a window looking outside on a rainy day, like feeling depressed.
So it's set up. More setups than candids these days?
Oh, it's always set up. I was never the candid guy.
Even though you were shooting the musicians, it was still set up then?
But the musicians were all setups. Yeah, those were like hardcore band shots. And I don't mean hardcore like punk. I mean hardcore like, they were in the studio or we were building sets or going to locations and posing them.
Do you know Jeff Sachs?
Oh, I know that name.
He was on 2 podcasts ago. He's in Sellersville. He's got a studio out there, and he does pharmaceuticals, and he's been around a long time as well. He went to Antonelli, but you'll think about that because that all intertwines, again, if you do know him. How do you pick up the jobs? Do people just call you now? You've established yourself that well?
Pretty much. I mean, we just sent out a constant contact yesterday, and that's one of the ways that I think the industry has changed, which I'm sure we'll get to that later. But I do have a following after I've been doing this for 25 years, and people just know who I am. You got to remind them, there's no doubt. But my core business comes from about 12 agencies that I do the majority of their work, and
that's great.
And you just, after this many years of doing it, you kind of fall into a place like that where it's always a hustle, I have to say.
Oh yeah, you can't stop. Where can they see your work? Where can people see your work?
On billboards on 95.
Your website?
My website is
that was the lead in to say, my website is episcopo.com, EPISCOPO.com, which is great. I see you have a Kickstarter going. There may be one day left by the time this goes up. It's called Meet America?
Yes, it's a book that I have coming out, Meet America. It is a celebration of the American spirit seen through meat.
Literally, you cut shapes of beef and... I mean, I see some things hanging on the wall, the WTF over there. The one that I saw hanging in my loft when I walked in to look at it the first time was the United States of America just cut out of it. Do you cut it yourself?
Yeah, most of it is molded with my hands, but there are a couple cuts. I try not to cut it too much because when you cut the shape out of the meat, this gets really weird and technical, especially if you don't know the work. But when I mold it, it tends to look like you found the steak that way because the fat still runs up the side and the marbling.
How did you get the Great Lakes and the Great Lakes and the marble of the United States?
Exactly. But if I actually cut it, it almost looks like I used a cookie cutter, and then it's that shape with the pattern of marbling meat inside of that shape, which is not what I'm trying to create. I'm trying to create this object that looks like you just stumbled upon a steak in a store that happens to be that shape.
I think Ari's got a question.
I noticed that you have a whole wall of cleavers.
Yes.
Is that all tools of the trade?
Those are, I've been working on meat for about 6 years now with meat. So
wait a second. Wait a second. He's been working on meat for 6 years.
Working on my meat.
Working on my meat. There you go. Hashtag working on my meat.
Yeah, you just, you start to buy one or two because they'd be a good prop, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, this is really cool. And so then meat cleavers are on your on your radar, and I start grabbing meat cleavers whenever I see them.
Meat cleavers, church doors, chairs, and so how did?
I'm a collector. I would be a hoarder if I lived in a regular house, regular size house. You'd be climbing over stuff.
Wow.
I'm definitely a hoarder that because I have this vast space, it's all spread out, and it doesn't seem like I'm a hoarder.
But it's nice stuff. I love this stuff. So in 15 years, when I get that phone call, as is with the record collection upstairs for Ari to look at, I saw
you
that.
didn't really look at it. You're welcome to go finger my records.
Hashtag you can go finger my records. That's a good one. No, but it is fantastic. And so where did you get the idea to start doing this with meat? Where's the fascination?
Well, meat is something to be fascinated with. I'm definitely a carnivore and love meat. I know it's not profound or anything, but I really love meat. No,
I dig music. I'm on drugs.
The oddest thing is, I'm also a newsie. I'm really into politics, and I used to watch CNN a whole bunch. And Wolf Blitzer does his report in front of this world map and he still does. And it's like this weird red gelatin. You still can't tell what the hell it's made out of. And I was watching it one day, and it looked like a world map made out of meat. And I'm like, there's something to try. And then that just worked out to be a little ambitious for my first shot. So we ended up settling on a couple states in the United States and stuff.
And that's been picked up? Who's picked up this whole story?
Oh my gosh, it's been everywhere from National Geographic to, I did interviews with Bon Appetit last week and the Smithsonian. Right now, Vanity Fair wants to run, not a story about me, but they just want to buy one of the images to illustrate a story about meat that they're doing.
Can I ask something?
But
how do you price that out?
Well, Vanity Fair dictates the price.
They just tell you and you say yes or no?
And I said yes, and it's not a lot. It's like a Rolling Stone kind of fee, but it's more to be a half-page lead-in, like the main image for a Vanity Fair story. But now they've gotten back to me, and they want to make sure I don't license it or it doesn't show up anywhere until March 6th.
Okay.
Which I can make happen. That's fine. But they offered me more money to do that, although they haven't really told me what. They just said, but we'll give you more money.
Oh, $25.
Yeah, but now they just got back to me and they said, well, it might get bounced from this issue to the next one, so could you keep it out of everything by April 6th? I don't know if I could potentially do that because they're a little freaked because the image they want is the book cover. And the book may be in stores by April 6th. We're talking to Fab, Fab.com.
Yeah, yes.
They want to do something. So when Kickstarter comes down, I think we're going to do something with Fab.
That's awesome.
And then we'll be in stores. We're talking to everyone from Urban Outfitters to Omaha Steaks.
I think that'd be an awesome Omaha Steaks. And get
They've
on
reached
QVC.
out to us, yeah. And QVC would be great. That's
because they sell Omaha Steaks. And then be like, oh, by the way, on FlexPay, you can get this book called Meat in America. So while you are making our Omaha Steaks, you can send pictures of steak. Ari, do you have something?
It's like the images are so conducive to like T-shirts and stuff. Have you ever thought about that?
We talk about it all the time, and the only time I've ever been able to make a T-shirt, it feels very blunt and there's not a rhythm to it. Like it's almost like your T-shirt works, maybe because it's an illustration, but when you put a photograph on a T-shirt right there, smack dab in the middle, it lacks a certain kind of soul or rhythm, and we've tried every which way, and we're still, we have a couple ideas, but we are in the process of making products, and obviously shirts would be a great one, but I just haven't been able to figure out the way I'm comfortable with it so far. But
yeah, maybe it's somebody taking your image and then doing some kind of illustration. It just changes it up and go with the term Meat America, or just something that's that people are going to gravitate towards. Because you see weird stuff on shirts all the time now, and it could look really interesting given to the right people.
Yeah, and then like you said, just the name Meat America, to do hats and stuff where it's not really about the images anymore. It's really just about the brand.
Oh, I like branding. I'm raising my hand because I had an idea. You have all these meat cleavers, so you start a whole line of different meat cleavers that go on hats, and it says Meat America. And I'm thinking of Garbage Pail Kids for some reason right now, but just like how you get get the meat grinder and all the meat's coming out of it. So that says Meat America. And then you've got little USB meat grinders on a table that connect to your laptop. What, Ari? A bobblehead? I just come up with weird ideas.
I have an image of an American flag going into a meat grinder and sausage coming out.
Are you getting yelled at for that? Is somebody gonna yell at
yet.
you? All right,
because it's in the book, but it's not one of the images I've released for the press.
When does it come out?
Well, the book is actually done. It was supposed to be shipped here this week. Probably I'll get them next week, like 3 pallets of books.
How did you? Are you going to do all the shipping from here?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are doing it from here. I'm not actually doing it, but the publisher. But this place is big enough that the publisher is actually going to use this place to actually house.
Are they renting that from you? Renting space?
No, he's like my partner at this
So
point.
how did you find them as a publisher?
He was a client that I worked with through Jordan and Jordan's agency.
Right. Jordan has an agency?
Yeah, Jordan's a partner at a pretty big agency in town.
I don't know this stuff. Can I get a meeting with this guy? Because he left. There's a hamper of clothes. He left a hamper of clothes in the bathroom. I got to return his hamper of clothes.
You could have brought him to me today. I forgot. Probably see him over the weekend.
So what kind of agency? Because let's
Finch
talk about
Brands. Do you know Finch Brands?
No.
They're a pretty big agency. They're over in the building that Budokan is in.
Okay.
Jordan's a partner over there, and the person who was my publisher owned a company, and I did a really big project for them, and then I did a couple more lifestyle images, and I did a couple other smaller ones, and he ended up selling that company. He doesn't even own it anymore, but he's like a venture capitalist, and he fell in love with my work, and he had bought a few pieces, and then he finally came to me and he was like, we need to make a book. And so he started a publishing company called Platypus Press, and the first book he put out, but he's definitely looking for other projects.
Oh, let's hook that up, because I've got projects. But let's talk about your book instead of talking about me. How much is it?
Well, the price that we were wanting to sell it for was $44.95.
Is it hardback?
It's hardback.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I got to get a copy.
And it's going to come on a little styrofoam tray, shrunk wrap like you would buy a steak.
That's genius.
But you should get a copy now on Kickstarter, because on Kickstarter, at first we had $25 copies, but they're sold out. But now the cheapest one you can get on Kickstarter is $30. So that is the place to buy it. It's a signed first edition.
I just put my $45 on the table.
I saw that.
Well, I want to see it. I love, because I have photo books. I've got next to the 1,000 Playboys. How many Playboys got delivered to the house the other day?
No, I wasn't there.
You weren't there? I got tons of Playboys. My dad had Playboys throughout the house when I was a kid. And then when I was moving, I know this is going off the side, I have an old Bessler Enlarger. My friend, her dad was moving to California, and he's like, he had this old Enlarger from the 70s that was just packed away in pristine condition. And they asked if I wanted it. So when I went to pick that up, he had 4 tubs of Playboys and Penthouses. He goes, do you want these also? I'm like, yeah, I'll put them in the loft, and they'll be great reading pieces for people. So I have all the Playboys up there. The book, $45.
Yeah, I'll show you.
Get it on the Kickstarter. I can't wait. It's amazing that it. So this is a pre-run.
This is an unbound copy.
Oh wow! I'll take a look when we're, because the people. Oh, that's awesome. I'm gonna look at that. Does it smell good too?
Well, somebody had suggested doing it as scratch and sniff.
Scratch and sniff. That would be funny. If there was one funny, because, see, that's what's fun in publishing, when you have a publisher, I guess, that can do whatever he wants, right? If you can think it, he'll do it. But the fact that it comes shrink wrapped is awesome, and that's a perfect piece to put in a Urban Outfitters, and not Hot Topic, because those people don't eat meat; they're more vegetarians. Well, they get to fit into skinny jeans. You don't eat meat, you know. So this is really cool. So you sell some of these prints, not just the book, but people can own an original?
Yeah, well, you could always buy them from me, but right now, just another plug, on Kickstarter, we're doing package deals with a print and a book and stuff like that.
How much is that?
Well, for $75, you can get a signed book and an 8x10 of the cover print, which is insanely cheap. And for $250, you could get an 11x14 print of, there's about 5 different images to pick from, and the signed book.
So what I'll do today, being that you only have 4 days left, I'll go home from here and I'll put it out on the Facebook to let people know that we have a podcast coming up, but they can check out the Kickstarter and they can take advantage of this cool book.
And buy your book on Kickstarter now.
Yeah.
I got to make my goal. I got like 10% to go in 4 days.
And you didn't even set the goal terribly too high.
No, but we also set the time really short. We've only been on there for 21 days, which looking at other ones, everyone's up there for so much longer than that.
A little bit longer. Kickstarter is a tremendous place to put things. I have a list of questions. I never have a list of questions because we've probably already asked all of these. Secret words, meat, music. I don't know. How do you find all these records?
Well, first of all, a little shameless plug, Milk Crate Cafe over on Girard Avenue. Adam, one of my best friends. I have a lot of best friends.
You do have a lot of best friends.
Adam lives in the building. He's been here since day one with me.
So that's
we're both single guys in the church. He's on the first floor apartment. And Adam is one of the best record dealers in town. And he gets incredible stuff.
Ari's eyes just lit up.
And
He's
I get to look at it before it even makes it to Milk Crate.
See, there you go. What do you have?
What do you have at this point, you think?
I probably have around 4,000.
Yeah.
Do you have a sound system throughout the building here yet?
I don't.
Because in 15 years when I move in, it needs to be wired. Well, we'll have wireless, amazing wireless pipes at that point.
I'll probably do wireless Sonos.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that the
Sonos is one of them, yeah.
The good wireless one?
Yeah. We got to modernize the church before I move in. I'm starting to
I'm modernizing it.
It's true.
We have video cameras. You ring the doorbell, I see you on TV.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. You're right. In 15 years, this place will be ultra modern, and my pod chairs are ready to move in. That basement's perfect for a skating rink. It's cold. It's cold down there. That's natural cold, right?
That's just natural cold because I have the heat off. I mean, it has heat and air conditioned down there, but it never gets too cold and it never gets too hot. It's crazy.
Well, and you're basically, what were your bills before you had the solar panel?
Just to heat this room, it was my gas bill was like $2,300 a month in the winter months.
Did the government, was it when they were doing subsidies?
Oh, God, yeah.
And basically,
they gave me about 40% back, 45% back. And it was 4 different grants, the feds, the state, and then there was 2 other smaller state grants.
So in 15 years, you'll all be paid back. You've made all the money.
5 years, it'll be paid
5 years, and it paid for itself. Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So
it was a no-brainer for me with a big property like this. With these, I have basically 2 gymnasiums to heat, and I have a football field of a roof that faces south. So
that's amazing. I love this place. I do. The big loft, and then a church, and then when you retire, where are you going?
I don't know. I don't know. Somewhere with a building with no maintenance. That's all I know. Something small with no maintenance.
I mean, an igloo.
Yeah.
Somewhere. Then you can cook some fire and some meat. So I just started cooking with gas, by the way, because Jordan's place has that awesome gas stove. I've never cooked with that. What an amazing experience.
It's so much better.
I was like, oh, my food's done already, and it's even, and it's soft and moist, and soft and moist.
That's because in your old place, I put that kitchen in as cheaply as I could. So instead of running a gas line, I just plugged in an electric stove.
Oh, you mean you put in that stuff in the original place?
Yeah.
That stuff is garbage. It was fine.
Well, it was used when I put it in.
Oh.
When I redid my kitchen in my condo, the old kitchen I pulled out got installed in your old studio.
My old loft, the place I rented.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the precursor to the new place, which is like the big boy place with all the finishings, and you helped Jordan find that place. How did you find that place?
We knew the owner, of that whole building and stuff. Fishtown's a small community, and especially from 10 years ago, anybody that came and staked their claim to start buying big buildings and renovating them, there was a handful of us, so we all knew each other. But I was looking with Jordan, we went all over the city. He was looking in all different neighborhoods.
Yeah, and that place is, the freight elevator, talk about for moving in. We moved in, and 6 or 7 trips up the elevator, and you're just loading everything in, and it's just, I love the freight elevator.
But do you use it on a regular basis?
I have been. Why? What am I not supposed to do? Am I going to get yelled at? I already got an email.
No. You got yelled at by somebody there?
No, I got an email. I got an email about using it during the day. It's the day, for God's sake.
I know Jordan didn't use it. He took the steps.
Well, when I'm carrying gear, when I got
I
3
would use it every
Pelicans,
day.
even if I come home at 2, I'm going to use. I love the elevator. Yeah, the elevator's great. Parking's not bad around there.
Who doesn't like you using the elevator?
I can't tell you names. They may be listening.
But are you the only apartment that it actually goes into the apartment?
The only apartment that it opens into. But it passes by somebody else's. So the common courtesy is between 9 and 9, you don't You use it between 9 and 9.
And not at night.
And, well,
Because it makes a lot of noise.
it doesn't make a lot of noise. It really doesn't. I mean, I woke up at 7:45 this morning from the jackhammers on 995. But no, honestly, the elevator doesn't. It's a smooth. It's a good elevator that I think. And look, if I get home at 2 in the morning and I've got gear, can't stay in the car, and it can't stay in the common area, it's coming up the elevator with me.
I'm with you.
I own the building. I mean, I don't own the building. I'm not going to own the building. I'll own this building one day. That'd be amazing.
I would love that.
It'd be incredible.
I think we're on course for that based on our past.
The web of that old place, that was this guy. This new place, that was this guy also. Yeah. It's just amazing. Ari, how are we right now? Where are we at?
Good.
We're good.
So.
How much?
20 minutes or so.
20 minutes left? Mm-hmm. Oh, good.
Wow, that went quick.
Yeah, you see, we talk a lot.
Yeah.
And what projects are coming up after this book?
I'm not sure. I am actually in a place of thinking about that. I have a couple ideas. I've been wanting to shoot, but it's a very different style. I want to shoot ice machines, like that you see outside of places.
Like a Zamboni?
No.
Metal.
You know, the boxes you see outside of like little like convenience stores and liquor stores, just sitting outside.
Old gas stations.
Yeah.
There's a book, Adam Lerner on my site. He's one of the other guys who contributes. It's Hardwood Stores of New York that all went. So these old photos of old hardwood stores that used to be throughout the 5 boroughs, and it's now into a book. Everything you do, just film it and get the process going, and and put it online, and everybody will pay attention.
So I'm not sure that that's what I'm going to do, but that's what I keep coming back to, like to do these, portraits of these ice machines.
Well, so let me ask you this. Do you have to take the jobs that pay to allow you to do the jobs that don't pay like that, the fun stuff?
It's been my whole life.
I mean, that's how it works. Like, did you ever do weddings?
No, I never. I mean, every photographer's done a handful of weddings, but I've never set out to do weddings. The weddings were always people I knew, family members, friends of friends, and I haven't even done a dozen of them, and I'm not good at it. You don't want me to do your wedding, that's for sure.
Well,
I would not. No matter who it was getting married. But yeah, that's not my cup of tea. But every photographer, it's like a rite of passage. I think you have to do a couple weddings.
I mean, that's how I started my website. I made enough money over a year and a half period to sustain myself, to focus 12 to 15 hours a day, to put the time in to create the content, to get the site going. But that's cool. I
mean, the same thing with rock bands. I mean, I had a commercial business that afforded me to be able
to take the $200.
Exactly, because that's all they pay. Unless you get an assignment from like Interscope or somebody where you're doing a whole album package,
and they don't do that anymore.
That's the only ones that pay. Well, back when I was doing it, those were and they were far and few between. It was all glory and no, real money.
It's fun.
Yeah, and then I would place national ads like in alternative pics and stuff with nothing but rock stars.
Right.
And I would get more assignments for rock stars, but wasn't paying my bills. It was truly like a hobby. It's really, I could do a book of my rock portraits. I must have a couple hundred.
Yeah. You should. I mean, you have this guy, and then that'd be cool. Just don't make the paper so you can roll it up and smoke it like Snoop Lion did. You remember Snoop Lion did that?
Lion.
Sorry, he changed his name.
I know
You have to get it to Snoop Lion.
I used to follow him on Instagram.
Yeah, I couldn't follow him anymore because it's just him holding his cup and Don Juan, the pimp, whatever. Yeah, I got tired of that.
Me too. I love following celebrities and then retiring them.
Well, what's your Instagram?
I think it's just Dom Episcopo.
Yeah, I need to follow you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have Vine yet?
No.
He doesn't know what Vine is. Well, I'll show you later.
It sounds like something that links everything together.
No, Twitter, it's now, you use video.
Vine is the video Twitter.
Yeah.
Yes, I've heard of it. I know what you're talking about.
Next, I don't know, is it growing yet?
I don't know.
I think it's leveled off because I got kind of it's hard to be creative with it.
2 videos get posted a day at this point.
Yeah, so
it's not really taking off.
It did quick, and then it's just like, well, okay, now what do I do? Because most people aren't that creative out there. The general public, not you guys listening, the people that aren't you, and they can't be creative with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it makes sense. I guess everybody has a video camera now in their phone, but it makes sense to me that a snapshot, like an Instagram kind of thing, would be much more accessible.
But it kind of underlies the fact that like raw material isn't great these days, because the problem is like it's so raw. There's no editing. There's nothing you can do. You can't even like make a simple cut in it. So it just ends up being this raw video that you have to keep shooting over and over again to get what you really want.
Yeah.
Which is not really conducive to a really quick open that app, shoot some video, and be done with it.
Yeah, that's definitely not there. So the shooting the ice machine, Ari?
Yeah, I have a question. What do you do with all the meat when you're done with it?
We eat it.
That's
Everyone
what I figured.
asks me that question.
I figured.
I mean, there's some that I can't eat because I just
Sure.
Fondled it too
finger
much?
it and fondle it a little too much, and it's just gross at that point. But
Gets all slimy.
yeah, it's just gnarly, you know. But when I shoot, I tend to like take 2 days, and I'll shoot. I'll get like, you know, so we have tons of meat, so we can't eat it all at once. So we we freeze it and stuff, and then months later, my wife will be like, "What do we eat?" And I'm like, "I'm eating
Omaha.
We've got Nebraska.
Jersey, Lincoln."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're eating the state. You know what? I want Alaska. I want Texas. You know.
And then I did a bunch of sausage stuff, you know, and I did it all at once, and I had just tons of, I mean, I probably had 10 pounds of sausage. So we had a barbecue, a bunch of friends came over, and everybody ate all the sausage.
So I'm sure you can have some cool parties out in the
courtyard.
The courtyard. Man, that's awesome. I like this place.
Where do you get the meat?
Different places. Believe it or not, the regular old supermarket, it depends on what I'm doing.
Sure.
So different things are good for different things. But Wegmans in Cherry Hill is definitely number one.
Wegmans.
They are the best. But I also get some stuff from Whole Foods over on South Street, and then the Italian market. Anything exotic comes from D'Angelo and Brothers. Where else do you get caribou or alligator? And then there's cannolis over on the Italian market. I tend to get a lot of stuff from as well. They're real accommodating.
So on the photo side of it, you have assistants. How do you find your assistants? Everybody always wants to know, how do you get in with somebody?
Well, that's interesting because I used to teach at University of the Arts. And so then I had no problem finding assistants. I had picked.
You just cherry picked the ones you wanted.
Yeah, and I've always had a very different relationship with assistants than most photographers. I keep them for a really long time.
Yeah.
My first assistant stayed with me for 15 years.
Wow.
My average assistant stays with me for 3 to 3.5 years. The guy I'm with now has been with me almost 3 years. But since I stopped teaching, I had a hard time finding assistants. Then I floundered. I went like I'd have one guy for 6 months or a year, and I could never just, you know, I'm really picky, and it's not because I'm hardworking. It's like I'm picky, like because I'm hard on them. I'm picky because it's more about personality and me jiving with somebody. And I travel a lot. I travel with that assistant a lot.
Sure.
There's a lot of long car rides. So it's, you know, it's got to be your abilities, but it's also got to, you know, it's got to be somebody I could deal with. Somebody I could deal with comfortable silence. I don't need somebody to fill up every second of dead air space with conversation in the car
With
on
careless
a 4-hour
whisper
drive.
playing.
Yeah, but I travel. I mean, Drew and I have gone on 2-week trips, you know, so it's got to be somebody you could really hang with.
Absolutely.
So now it's much more difficult. When I taught and I had all these students available to me, it was a whole different deal.
Sure.
Never really had a problem.
I mean, you do live in a church, so no, I won't go there. I won't go to students, church, kids, pick of the litter, you name it. I mean, so speaking of touring, did you ever tour with any of the bands?
Nah, I never did that. In college, I followed bands, but that was different. That was just because I was following them.
Who'd you follow?
I'd be embarrassed to tell you who.
Fish?
I was into. No, like U2.
Oh, you followed
I've seen
U2?
U2 70-something times, almost 80 times.
That's awesome.
I remember when the Violent Femmes came through when we were in college. We saw them in Philly and New Brunswick and Delaware.
Yeah.
And, you know, we for like a half a week, we'd go see them and everywhere.
Where did they play in New Brunswick?
They played at Rutgers, and I couldn't tell you what venue at Rutgers because it was 25 years ago.
Wow.
But some of the bands you tend to you bond with, and you, like Guar, you know, we hung out with all day. And
Did you have to wear like a raincoat with those guys?
No, not until we went to see them. Because I wasn't going to the show, but after hanging all day with them, then we went to the show because they were. How could you not go see them?
Well, how do you shoot Guar? Carefully?
Well, it wasn't the whole band. I only had 2 of the members, and one was the woman that spits fire. I don't even remember her Guar name. I don't remember her name.
Oh, that Guar one.
And in the old studio, I got this great shots of her spitting fire but she would spit a lot of fire, and then
She lit the paintings that are worth $1 million
this-
on the ceiling.
This ball of flames would go and hit the ceiling and dissipate. We only did it a couple times because I'm like, I am gonna burn this building down.
I had a concert in there. I had a rock concert in there.
Did you really?
We had a full electric for my birthday. Bob was downstairs. He came up a few times because the neighbor, what was his name across the behind the building, who owned that building,
Ira.
the art Ira, called over. It was a Saturday, for God's sake, and the band was full electric, rocking the shit out of the place. And Bob didn't care. I took him some cake, but Ira was calling like, it's so loud up there, because before I was there, or before you, or maybe between us, there was a kid that used to throw illegal parties.
That was when I was there. He rented out the first floor to Ricky Aola. Is that his last name? He was a pro skateboarder.
Oh, really?
And they used to have
Parties.
crazy parties with like fight club parties where they would
they
have
beat the shit out of each other?
organized fights. Yeah, they would have 3 fights throughout the evening, like crazy.
And all we did was fight with plastic lightsabers.
Oh yeah, we just fought with classic lightsabers, the Jewish way. Don't hurt me.
Do-overs and
No,
stuff.
they used to have real deal fight.
And Bob had no clue, did he?
No idea.
He had no clue what was going on.
No idea. Because that would happen on weekend nights, and he would be gone on Friday, and he wouldn't return to Monday if he even returned.
That building is cool. It was impossible to heat, and by the way, those bills sucked when I lived there. And the downstairs is beautiful. The 5,000 square feet that is downstairs, it looks good now.
That was raw when I was there.
Right,
It's been
much
fixed
better
up.
now
Yeah.
because the daycare, the kids. I put a hockey rink upstairs in that loft, a synthetic ice rink. I used to skate around during the day, during nap time. I used to play the music because they would piss me off, so I would play my music and let the floor thump, and it was during nap time and all that good stuff. Well, I just look forward to getting that call in 15 years from you, Dom.
Oh, man. I'd be thrilled. I'm looking to sell it.
15 years down the road,
Yeah,
we'll shake.
all right.
Thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank you.
So there you have it, Dominic Episcopo from his church. One day this church may become a synagogue if I do take it over and all that good stuff. That would be fun. I really enjoyed this. This place is amazing. It's fantastic. And the work that's coming out of this Meet America book, you need to check it out. If it's art, check it out. I almost sounded like the guy from Dave Coulier, right? He used to do Cut It Out. Anyway, I'm supposed to be doing an outro. Check it out, Meet America. You can go to Dom's website. It's episcopo.com. Just Google it, Dominic Episcopo. Put that in there if you can't spell it. Just E is the second word name, and it works. And you'll find it. But check out Meet America. If you can buy it, definitely go and do that. If the Kickstarter is still up, take advantage of that. I'm going to go home right now and do that. Ari actually was buying it on Kickstarter while we were recording because Kickstarter now has an app. So there you have it, guys. Thank you very much for listening. This was a really good one. Be sure to download, subscribe on iTunes, all that good stuff. Go onto YouTube, subscribe on there. Check out the email list. Check out allenscamera.com for your used or new gear for your cameras. Thank you to the poker table people. Thank you to Adorama Picks, and a big thank you to Drobo for all of their support with the contests and giving us 10 of them to give out this year. So pay attention for that stuff. Oh yeah, and pay attention for us to give away. We're going to give away a copy of Meet America, and maybe you could win that. Did I get that right? It's Meet America. Oh, I don't want to get that wrong. So there you have it, guys. Thank you very much for watching or listening, because if you are just listening, we do put this on YouTube with video. Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya.